Jeff, who is K. Roy? I'm not familiar. Who do we have? K. Roy.
I'm not sure. We are live now, by the way, and
Okay.
I'm not sure who the K. Roy person is. I think that name has changed.
Hey, this is Katie Roy and Gary Gaskins. We're from the Cato DA's office.
Thank
Gotcha.
you
We
so
just wanted
much.
to make sure. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, you do have a quorum if you're ready to start, or I'm glad to call roll, whatever you'd like.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's start with the roll. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson
Here.
and Commissioner Gage Watts, Commissioner Epperson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Young,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. All right, you have three. Oh, I see Commissioner Johnson just logged in, and you have 4 members of 5 present, 1 absent.
All right. I will lead us in a quick invocation. And please note, Mr. Clerk, that Commissioner Lynn Cawthorn is also signed in with us as well.
Thank you very much.
I will lead us in a quick invocation, and Commissioner Epperson, do you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I take that as a 10-4. Please let all hearts and minds be at peace as we look to the Lord in prayer. God, we thank you for bringing us here today to do the work of your people. We ask that you guide our decisions, guide our conversation, and let it be what you would have it to be. Help us do your will and not our own. Please protect us as we celebrate this Passover season, resurrection season, for we know that you are the reason for this season as well. We ask that you look over our leadership in this country, the state, and at the local level. These are many blessings we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
All of us that may have a flag within our midst, if we would please place, we have a flag on display. I would ask that all military and veterans will render the standard hand to brow salute, all others right hand across your heart. Please do not repeat the pledge in unison. I will lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Okay, the next item is going to be agenda additions. I'm not aware of any unless you have any.
I don't have any. Does any committee members have any agenda additions?
Seeing none, we will move to public comments. The public comments, we have not received any electronic public comments, but the phone number, should anyone want to make a public comment, is 318-226-6596. Again, that's 318-226-6596.
Give about 30 seconds for any call in,
Okay.
or 15 seconds. Do we know if Robert Jump is going to come on? Or did he send anything back?
I thought I did get a confirmation from him, but let me double check for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are no calls, by the way.
Okay, great. Well, let's move on to the next thing. Thank you.
Okay, for new business, we are, first item is certificate of teleconference. There's no action required. It's just to note that it's there. And then the next item is the winter storm event. Did you want to skip that item until?
Yeah, let's skip over it. If he jumps in, we'll do it. If not, we'll come back to him. I know there was a briefing earlier this week on the application. Dr. Wilson, are y'all aware of that, or have y'all been briefed on that? What's the status of it?
On the FEMA application, sir, you talking about?
Yes, because I know we had some significant damage, right?
Yes, yes, sir, we did. And we're tracking that. I need to get an update. That's where we are today.
Okay, well, Tim Weaver, is he off today?
No, sir. Dr. Waters is working that project for us.
I'll
text him and if he had any status for us.
Oh, he probably out looking for his Easter suit. Okay.
No, he's at work today.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But they got an update. That's all we're needing is an update on, what's the status,
Mhm.
how things are going with that, and just kind of making sure we're moving things along as it relates to it. I know there's a DSNAP. I know that's not the parishes, but I would just announce there's a disaster SNAP. I'll get that information so we can link it out there, put it on our website, and maybe put it on our Facebook page for individuals who have significant periods of electrical outage. You can qualify to have the food reimbursed that you had to come out of. So if any food went to waste or things like that, I know that DSNAP application starts Monday, I believe. So I'll try to get that information over to you so we can post and share with the public as well. All right, Jeff, we can go on to the next thing.
Okay, that brings us to discussions regarding agency impacts related to the COVID-19 pandemic.
All right, thank you. We would like to go ahead and let's have a conversation. What we're doing here today is just starting out a conversation. We're not here to take any action. I'm sorry if I'm chewing, if I'm my peanuts or I have to have my snack, but we're just here today to start a conversation relative to the pandemic. This is the pandemic committee. And so we know that there were revenue losses, there were shortfalls, and then there are some individuals have, or some agencies have expressed kind of a idea of some things that they would like to see going forward. And so again, this is just to kick off the conversation. This is not to get in front of or do anything to appropriate anything, but you have to have the conversations. And my understanding from the reading of the American Rescue Plan bill is that I believe it's either 60 or 90 days. Dr. Wilson, have y'all received anything indicating those funds have been sent or on the way?
No, sir. We were told they expected before the end of May.
Okay. So I know it was at least.
The first tranche will be before the end of May, which will be half of the total amount.
And what's that total amount? 46?
23 million. Well, the total amount is 46 million, but we're expecting 23 million before the end of May.
Okay. So, having the conversations, starting to work through those processes. I looked at a state budget hearing today where they were meeting earlier this week. And so this is what the process is about. You have to start, there has to be a ground zero somewhere for those conversations to start. So, I don't want people to start whispering saying Jackson is getting out of his lane or he's playing out of his lane. That's not what that's about. It's about making sure that, we can move forward with having the conversations, having the appropriate conversations with the right entities, the right agencies, so that we can move forward when those dollars do eventually arrive. What we should not want to do is wait, and then when they get here, I got a call from DeSoto Parish where they were asking, because they're starting to make plans and have conversations. So that's what committees do. That's what we do as elected officials. That's what we do as legislators. So that's all this is. Commissioner Epperson, I see your hand. You're on mute if you're talking, Commissioner Epperson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to bring up that I'm aware of and had received information because I work closely with those organizations, Caddo Community Action Agency, as well as the Louisiana State Fair. Louisiana State Fair, Mr. Giordano, the executive director, told me, based upon the situation, no fair and events that they normally hold for 2020 through the pandemic, they had lost about 82% of their revenue. So there are some things coming into 2021 that they're going to try. They're going to have an early fair, which is going to be in April. And then it appears as though if things continue the way that they are, we're going to, have a state fair and maybe some other things that's going on. However, I just want to make that known. They provide a tremendous economic impact to our parish and this region, basically. And so I just wonder when those funds come down, could we help them with some things, because they are going to be doing some things that's sort of out of the box to try to bring that revenue back that they lost. And also Caddo Community Action Agency, on top of people being hit economically by being unemployed and jobs concerned. We got food insecurity, we got emergency aid, and then on top of that, the snowstorm came in, and so many people that Caddo Community Action Agency is aware of, like frozen pipes that were busted on the side of those individuals' homes, in addition to food insecurity, and they being in a low economic status as it is, if it's possible, some things that we could do to increase the emergency aid funds. So that's some of the things that, I wanted to talk about. And also, Mr. Chairman, I've started receiving calls about the rental assistance program. Mr. Everson, did you receive a call today? I referred a call today to you on the emergency rental assistance.
I may have. I will certainly review them and see if I have another call on it. We get lots of calls on the emergency rental assistance, and I'm glad to reach back out. But
okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make that be known, and hopefully it's something we can do to those agencies, because they are so beneficial to our indigent and the poor, as well as Louisiana State Fair contributes so much economically to this region.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Duly noted. And I've had a conversation with Commissioner Johnson, Commission President Johnson. And I think the idea is to try to run through and make sure that we disperse, or at least kind of prioritize the spending based on lost revenues, parish needs, and then, just as you mentioned, some of those things that are kind of above and beyond, which would be recovery efforts, we would be able to address those. What I do want to, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Commissioner Everson, what I do want to remind us is that the process is always fluid. Congress is always fluid. We have about 2 to 3 years to spend those funds. But if the political climate, and that's just the reality, if the political climate in Congress changes, there could be what's called sequestration, where whatever is unspent won't be appropriated. And so while I want to kind of give us we don't have to get the dollars out the door tomorrow, but we don't want to be complacent in doing it, because you just never know what might happen. We want to be prudent, we want to be efficient, we want to be right, but we also want to move with a sense of urgency. So thank you, Commissioner Epperson, and we will, that's why this committee is starting our conversations, and we're going to meet, and we're going to continue to meet to move forward as it relates to responding to all aspects of this pandemic. The American Rescue Plan is a byproduct of the pandemic, and if there was no pandemic, there would be no American Rescue Plan. And so I look forward to doing the work through this committee that's going to help this parish and the citizens get back on track. With that, Mr. Clerk, I'll open it up to our first visitors from I believe the parish administration, to just kind of give us an update. Again, you don't have to be down in the weeds, but if you could give us an update on revenue shortfall, unexpected expenses, and just kind of ideas that you may or may not have. You don't have to have any ideas at this time for recovery, but want to open that discussion up at this particular time.
Yeah, Commissioner Jackson, we have a dissertation prepared for you for this, sir, today.
Okay, go ahead.
And Ms. Haley Bonner is going to give it to you, but it shouldn't be very long.
Sure, no, go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, Ms. Haley, you want to go ahead and cover what we have, please?
Do y'all need to open the screen up or something?
No, sir, I don't need to open the screen.
Okay.
I'm going to go over it verbally for now. I will pretty up the information and send it out to you guys next week. This was just something fast and dirty that I put together. Overall, the parish revenue loss for all the funds that we have was right at $2.7 million.
Haley, I think you're in a bad spot.
Haley,
A lot of
hey, Haley.
that was sales tax, which
Hey, Miss
covers
Haley.
Haley?
about $1 million.
Haley, can you hear us?
We also, as you all know, we lost, yeah.
Can you hear
Can
us,
you hear me?
Haley? Yeah, either your signal is bad or you're not in the right spot or something's going on, but you're real choppy and dragging. So
It's garbled, Haley.
Can y'all hear me better now?
that's
Yes,
bad.
ma'am. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't realize my Wi-Fi wasn't on, so I'm
That's
sorry.
better. No, that's better.
So, anyway, so I have what I did was, did a revenue comparison so that I could see what we lost from compared to 2019 to 2020. It looks like the parish overall lost right at $2.7 million. Again, a lot of that was sales taxes, covered about $1 million of that. We had a loss in riverboat funds, which was right at 400,000 loss in riverboat funds. The others were, we had some loss in adoption revenue. We had loss in parks revenue for camping fees and so forth. But what we also made quite a large loss in some of our criminal funds for like district court and juvenile court with child enforcement collections, court cost, criminal case charges. So there was a lot of loss in those funds for those entities that we did the accounting for. That is also in that number. Those funds are small funds to begin with, and so when they take a hit to revenue, it's really tough on them. So that was again just a high summary of the revenue loss for the parish was right at $2.7 million. I also want to say that we don't anticipate the riverboat revenues getting back to where they were for quite some time. And so over the next several years, through the 2024 time period, we're estimating that we will lose a total about $1.3 million in revenues just related to the riverboat funds, which, is also a big hit for us. Also, as you know, Commissioner Jackson, we had quite a big spend and tried to get reimbursed from the CARES Act. We weren't able to get all of those funds reimbursed to us. So we were out already, based on what I submitted, we were out right at $800,000 that we were not reimbursed by CARES Act. And even after that application period closed, we had additional expenses of, disinfecting buildings and that kind of thing that we didn't even apply for because the time period had lapsed that will make that number grow. So all that being said, the COVID pandemic did hit our revenue stream quite significantly. I do not have a projected amount of time that it would take for sales taxes to recover. I'm hoping that the influx of the American Recovery Act and those projects that will drive will help the sales tax revenue. But that's a wait to be seen kind of thing. But I'll keep it short because I know there's a lot of other people that want to talk, but that's kind of a high level of our losses for the parish of Caddo.
Thank you, Haley. One quick question I have, and I see Commissioner John Paul Young, but a quick question that I have is, you mentioned I know we did the cost that we did not get reimbursed from the CARES Act. Is that rolled up into the 2.7 million? Or that's separate?
No, that's an additional the 2.7 is just related to revenue loss. The 800,000 would be additional expenses. So add those two numbers together to get the full impact.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much. Commissioner John Paul Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Haley. I wanted to ask the $2.7 million revenue reduction. Is that a net loss in funds, or did we also have a reduction in costs? I'm specifically thinking about the court costs, criminal costs. Do we have a reduction in court activity that cost us less money, such that the hit is not quite that bad? Or can you talk about that a little?
Well, I can say that we did have less court activity, which is what caused our court cost income to go down. But, majority of those costs related to the courts, and some of the judges and DA on the line can talk to this better than I can, but most of those costs are salaries, and those did not go down. So the 2.7 is just revenue loss, because the way the act is written is you can do revenue replacement. So I worked the numbers without the expense reduction or lack thereof. I just did revenue replacement numbers. So for us to replace our revenues that we lost due to COVID, we would need $2.7 million. So yeah, we had some cost savings overall through the parish because we weren't fully operational, but that's what the language in the act says, just revenue replacement, not expense savings. Did that make sense?
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That it for you, Commissioner Jumpo?
That's everything. Thank you, Commissioner Jackson.
No problem. Haley,
Jackson.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. Let's be mindful that we will also like to seek reimbursement for some additional project costs too. All the water investments we made in most recent months, we will be looking at that as well as some other projects.
Okay.
We had the $900,000 we advanced to Blanchard, and the $700,000 that went to Greenwood, and perhaps some other projects too that we think will fit the preview of the allocation, the use of the money.
Well, let me, that's a good point to make, to reimburse for those costs, but let me also encourage us, because as we had our legislative call last week, it seemed like the notion was, well, just take everything out of your American Rescue Plan dollars. But I do believe the state is set to receive about $2 billion as well. And portion of that $2 billion, there was a carve out of $10 billion. Okay, if you follow me, there was a carve out of $10 billion to go to states specifically for infrastructure and broadband. So two things on that. The state is going to get, well, three, I guess. The state is going to get a portion of $10 billion for infrastructure, water, and broadband projects. And as I stated to our legislative delegation, my hope is that we would also fight to bring a portion of whatever is received for that carve out to Caddo Parish, because they're going to get it. And the notion, and they took it from the local government fund because we were supposed to receive more than what we're receiving now, but they took that from the local government funds. And so we should petition our delegation to help us secure some of that state level funding that is coming. And with regard to broadband, I know there's been a lot of talk about it, but unless they change the statute at the state level, you could have funds to do something with broadband, but at the local level, we won't be able to do anything with that because the statute is very clear that if we've got to go through certain processes. We have to set up special revenue fund. It has to be a feasibility study. Got to get the ISPs to the telecommunications to endorse it. And so it's a whole process to go through.
Yes, sir.
And so they make it. And so unless they're going to make some changes at the state level and loosen some of those restrictions on broadband, I really feel like we would be spinning our wheels. I'm not crapping on the broadband piece. I'm just saying what our reality would be with regard to municipal broadband or doing any broadband efforts. So
right.
Just wanted to throw that out there as food for thought. So yes. Any other questions for Ms. Bryant, Dr. Wilson? Any other questions from commissioners from Ms. Bryant or Dr. Wilson? All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Next, we have the district attorney's office.
This is Gary Gaskins, the administrator with the Caddo DA's office. First of all, thank y'all for hosting this meeting and thank you for including us in it. We appreciate it very much and it's informative. We, like Haley was talking about, we definitely had revenue shortfalls in our self-generated funds between 2019 and 2020, which consist of bond forfeiture money, court costs and fines, and various things like that. So although I don't know all the particulars and guidelines at this point, we will have some shortfalls that we would like to have addressed and look forward to discussing with y'all.
Well, I mean, that's what this form is. Do y'all have that readily available today, or?
Well, what my figures show right now is if you look at 2019 versus 2020, we had about $360,000 in revenue shortfall. And if you compare the first 3 months of 2019 and 2021, and those figures are not complete yet, but we had roughly a $250,000 shortfall in our funds there. Then we had $483,000 in CARES request that we did not receive. And then our 2021 budget from the parish was a reduced budget percentage increase that we accepted because of COVID affected funds.
Hey, Gary, you said something that's almost a number. You said reduced budget percentage increase. Walk us through that one.
Well, in our budget discussions with the parish administration, we were actually asked to take a 0% budget increase in the funding that we get from the parish for the year due to funding for the parish being affected by COVID. We eventually settled on 1%. So we received a 1% increase in our funding in our parish budget funding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, I got you now. You just don't always hear reduce budget increase in the funding.
Right.
So all total, it looks like just at about $1 million or so. Is that your figure?
Well, depending on what a normal, I would say in a normal budget year with the parish that our increase, we would negotiate probably around 4%. And so I don't have that number in front of me, but the other numbers that I cited plus that would be roughly our total. And I'm going to guess it's probably going to be about $1.5 million or so.
Okay. That's what I kind of pegged it at, about $1.5 million, $2 million.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from the district attorney's office?
No, I don't believe so at this time. Thank you for letting me go before Ted Cox.
Okay. I see Commissioner John Paul has a question or a comment. Maybe.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. I had a question for Mr. Gaskins. Could you just clarify for me? It sounded like you said, and could just confirm this, yes, if you would, that every year you have a 4% budget increase for the DA's office?
Well, I wouldn't say every year. I didn't mean to make a blanket statement like that. It varies from year to year, and we always go into budget discussions with parish administration, Woody, Erica, and Haley, and tell them our needs. And the budget discussion goes from there.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions for the district attorney's office? All right, Mr. Gaskin, if you could you get something over to our clerk and our parish administrator, that kind of preview that you just provided?
I certainly will. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Commissioner John Paul, is your hand back up or is that old?
That's old, sorry.
All right. Anybody on from the public defender's office?
Yes, this is Michelle Onderpon. I'm the district public defender.
Okay, all right.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this conversation. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. The Public Defender's Office, as the parish and the District Attorney's Office, receives a huge portion of our funding from conviction and user fees at the local level. With the closings of court, we were averaging those conviction and user fees in fiscal year 19. We're averaging right around $109,000, $108,690.18 a month. And since COVID, we're averaging $76,127.98 a month. A difference of $32,562.20 a month for a shortfall over a 12-month period thus far of $390,746.40. We were not eligible to, I continued to pay my people their salaries through the time of court closures per the public defender's wishes across the state, although I did make some salary cuts during that time because we weren't appearing in court as frequently as we had been. So I reduced some salaries by 50% during that period. I was not eligible to apply for any CARES Act relief, so I don't have any relief there. I just continued to pay the full salary. So we're averaging a loss of about $33,000 a month, every month. And that is an ongoing thing.
Thank you. Is that it for any questions for the Public Defender's Office? I guess my question would be so the state didn't even offer any CARES Act reimbursement or anything like that?
The state received, last year, the Louisiana Public Defender Board did receive an increase in monies from the legislature, which was dispersed to the local districts in part. I did receive additional, which are we call them district assistance funds. Those are the funds we received from the state Public Defender Board. I did receive an increase in that fund, a one-time increase in that fund for last year.
Pandemic related, y'all have not received anything pandemic related?
Just the additional money that was given to the Public Defender Board last year because of the pandemic. It was $4 million for the entire state of Louisiana's public defense system.
Gotcha. And do you know how much that equated to the local Public Defender's Office?
My office received an increase of right just under 500,000, which is just keeping me even for this year. But every month I'm already eating into reserves that I had in place.
Okay.
And I would also, I sent a couple of letters to the commission last year regarding a request for assistance. Our office, Public Defender's Office, does not receive any financial assistance from the commission, though we handle roughly 75 to 85% of the criminal cases in Caddo Parish. And we do it on approximately 1/3 of the budget that the district attorney's office functions on. And while the commission gives over $5 million to the district attorney's office, they give zero money to our office. So I will be coming to the commission as a whole and requesting funds.
Okay, that's going to be a totally separate.
I understand, Commissioner Jackson. I appreciate it.
And I did get those letters. That's why I did want to at least reach out to at least see. So
again, I thank you so much for including me in the conversation.
okay.
Any questions I may answer?
Any other questions from the body? Commissioner John Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a question for, well, I forgot her name. What could you tell us how much is in your reserves?
Yes, I don't know what the balance is at this time. I project that I'm going to end the year around $500,000, perhaps.
And that's down from?
Because of the cuts that I made to people's salary, I've been able to maintain about the same reserve as I had last year because I cut people's salaries by 50% when courts were closed.
Okay. Wow. Okay, great. Thank you for your answer. And I had just a question that I wonder if Mr. Gaskins is still online. Does the district attorney have reserves?
I'm sorry, sir, would you say that again?
Does the district attorney's office also have reserves?
Yes, sir. We have, I would say approximately 2.2 million.
Okay, and what has been the change in those reserves over the last year, 18 months?
I would say they've probably dropped by about 200,000.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner John Paul Young. Thank you, Miss Michelle, Miss Anderpont. Relevant information. This is not the committee for that, but I do look forward to at some point having a discussion about.
I understand, Commissioner Jackson, the figures that I gave you on the nearly $400,000 loss is directly related to the pandemic.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. Next, I believe we have juvenile, or do we have voter registrar? No, do we have the registrar of voters? I don't see anybody from the office here. Okay, let's go on to juvenile court or juvenile services, however y'all want to slice the cake.
Commissioner Jackson, it's me, Clay Walker here. And thank you for having us. We met with Ted Cox and with all of the judges. Andrew Randall and I did, and he and I are here. What we have, Haley's already touched on the court losses that we had. In addition, what I'm looking at, and to some extent, like the DA's office said, I mean, we're still looking through the regulations to see what would apply. But we're looking at needs for mental health training, that mental health issues due to the pandemic. We're looking at the needs for human trafficking training. Human trafficking, if you will, kind of changed its patterns during COVID, and that's something that the judge would like to have the staff train on with statewide experts to learn about what's happened with that. Probably our biggest need is going to be, there are several hundred children in the school system who simply never logged in to their school computer during the entire pandemic. I've gotten together with Dr. Gorey and Keith Burton, and we're putting together a plan. They've got a list of these children that were completely disenfranchised from their education. The school system is putting together a plan to deal with the academic recovery. We would put together a plan for the family social service needs recovery. What happened to the families? What were the emergencies that kept them from prioritizing their child's education, trying to help the families with those needs to get them all back on track? Our concern, if you have several hundred children that are a year separated from school, that's going to become a big truancy problem and potentially a delinquency problem that we'd like to get in front of and prevent. I'm also not certain, this is something I need to talk about with Haley, but we basically spent the entire year mobile and put a fair amount of mileage on cars. I don't know if that's something we can seek some reparation on in terms of the cars that we used the whole year, but that's the needs that I've laid out. Training, the addressing the needs of the families that were not connected to their schools that are in our truancy program, and then the cars.
Okay. But your costs, y'all's anticipated, if I heard you correct, y'all's anticipated lost revenues position is basically wrapped up in the 2.7 that Haley mentioned. Is that what I hear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Court costs, losses in child support to the court. Those are wrapped into that Haley talked about.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna get
thank you, Haley.
Okay, I'm gonna get to Judge Casey, but I'll see Commissioner Lyndon Johnson's hand up. President Johnson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Clay, I was under the impression back when I first joined the commission that truancy was under the school system, and over a period of time, it had drifted to your area. Is that correct?
Well, it's still a shared problem. The way that we handle it, we get a certain amount of money from the Supreme Court to deal with it. The school system puts in some money, and then the commission puts in some, because it's a to some extent a joint project. We've always had this, I guess you could say, a tension, when the children walk out of the school and are truant, the school board feels like they are then our problem as truants. We certainly, we understand that, but we also feel like they're still school system children and therefore need that funding. It really is to some extent a shared expense. The school system handles all high school truancy. We handle elementary and middle. Elementary and middle deals very much more with the parents. And we have, frankly, a little more leeway. I mean, we have more leverage, if you will. We have the judges. The judges have jurisdiction over the parents in truancy. And so in those younger grades, it's more about the parents and they deal with high school. So that's how we've been splitting it up.
Okay. I just want to make sure that, since the school board will be getting some money as well, that they share the costs as well too. And not just the parents.
Yes, we had that same conversation with the judges in truancy. They will have staff that are going to be helping to track these same families. They are putting together an individualized education recovery plan. We would be dealing with the mental health and social service needs. It's kind of a parallel effort with school system, but they're definitely putting up personnel and staff in it as well.
Also some money too.
Well, yes, money for that staff. We're talking about what we would do would be money for contract staff. It would not be adding full-time staff. It's just contract work where they would be assigned a caseload of these children that never signed on.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good, Commissioner Johnson.
That's it.
All right, Judge Casey, Judge Reed Casey, and I know Judge Howell had her investiture today, so she's probably
She's a little occupied right now.
We understand.
I do want to clarify what Ms. Barnett was saying regarding the loss, the $2.some million loss from the courts from First JDC as well as juvenile court. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that because Mr. Walker made a statement too about court costs. We've never since I've been here, we have not collected court costs. Okay, so that's not a loss from us as far as court costs. I know that child support is down probably about $10,000, but we were able to intercept some of the COVID funds from those fathers or mothers who are on child support. So that helped us out a little bit. But from my understanding, it's about $10,000 down for child support. I'm not sure about any other court costs other than traffic fines that we collect. So I'm not sure what else. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that it has that $2.some million, majority of that is not coming from juvenile court. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I think
Okay.
she's a big picture, but within that 2.7, some of it, is that correct, Haley? Within that 2.7, some of it is also inclusive of juvenile court. Did we understand that correct, Haley or Eric?
Yes, that is correct. That was not a juvenile court number per se. I can give you the exact numbers for juvenile court if you would like, but that was just an all-encompassing number that also included them.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we were clear on that. I actually have the numbers. If anyone else wants them, you're more than welcome to provide that to them. But I just want to make sure I was clear on that. To piggyback on Commissioner Johnson, what he stated, and that was my question in our meeting, that some of the funding from the Caddo Parish School Board, whatever they get, should also go towards some truancy issues that we have. So, but we do want to focus, after speaking to Judge Howell, on the mental health portion of it, the tutoring portion of it. Let me see what else, because from what I believe, from speaking to Judge Howell, the numbers have almost tripled with truancy for this year alone, because they have not, I guess, filed or whatever, they reported those numbers, especially due to COVID. So it has almost tripled already this year because of that. So there's some things that need to be put into place with that, and working along with VYJ or other community partners in order to get that done. And so just basically, I think Mr. Walker has some more to say, but I just wanted to kind of just put that information out there.
Okay. Clay, did you have anything else to add to that? Thank you, Judge Casey.
No, I'm in agreement with what Judge said. We were very minimal court costs. This is all, I think, money that Ted submitted through Haley. to Haley. And then I think that's exactly right. It was like 10,000 in child support. It's not a lot in terms of those losses.
What about, I'm just curious, what about increased cost of ankle monitors or was that just a normal expense that y'all were expecting? Because I know we did something over at CCC at the very, very height of the pandemic where we weren't trying to have things all cluttered up. And so individuals would just, be put on placed on an ankle monitor and could just be monitored. Is that also?
That's correct.
We absorbed that into our regular budget. That was not a problem during the pandemic. Frankly, there were very few children that came in only for the most serious charges.
Okay.
And we were able to handle that in our regular budget.
Okay. Dr. Wilson, did you want to add to that?
Yes, sir. We did incur a cost with CCC to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So
did we realize any savings from that, or have y'all been able to tell? Because there was a notion that that those who would be placed on an ankle monitor, somehow there would be a way to backfill in jail. Do we know what happened there?
No, so we got to go back and take a look at that.
Okay.
But we know that it's kind of one of those situations when we clear out. Hopefully, those who shouldn't be in there that could be on ankle monitors, they will only be replaced with someone else that left.
What about healthcare costs at CCC dealing with COVID? Did we see any uptick there?
We had to ask for that data, and I would say yes, there is an increase in costs. I mean, but it goes up all the time. But we'll have to see if we can segregate that data as it related to COVID.
Yes, please. I would
Yes, sir,
love
we will.
to see that, and the parish would be reimbursed for that cost, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct. Mm-hmm.
30 days prior to their release, we can now bill for those services. Now, that was in the latest COVID bill that was passed. We can now bill for that we were initially doing 30 days prior to their release. So if we know when they're going to be getting out, we can start billing for those costs. Are y'all aware of that?
No, sir, I wasn't aware of it, but thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah, we might need to start having conversations with maybe the judge, the judges, as well as maybe the sheriff's office to start working out a plan. So when, if somebody's just sitting over there and they're going to get time served and they've racked up medical expenses, you can go back 30 days now and you got 30 days to start. You can start billing at the 30-day point when they get out, however that process works. So hopefully there's going to be some cost savings there. I'd like to just see a blanket removal of that exclusion, but it's a good first step. Any other questions or comments from the committees? Ms. Andrepont, I did ask Ms. Gaskins, but Clay, could y'all get that information to Jeff Everson or to the parish administrator so that we can share that with the committee and other commissioners just kind of as we go forward? And some of Clay, can y'all put the plan to paper and share that information?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay. And I agree with Commissioner Johnson. These American Rescue Funds are going to arrive. I don't know yet the actual dollar amount the school board received in the CARES Act, but I do know it was in the millions and it was in the tens of millions, I'm told. And then there's another tranche of money coming to them in this American Rescue Plan that's going to be in the tens of millions. What I do believe is that some of the programs we have been partnering, I'm going to use the word partnering with regard to after school tutoring and things of that nature. It might be time to have a conversation, Dr. Wilson, with the superintendent and Commissioner Johnson with the school board that we share that cost. Because as I heard Haley say, Riverfront shortages over the next couple of years will be, Haley, was that 1.3 each year or 1.3 over those years?
1.3 over the years.
Okay. All right. Thank you. But still, that's still a lot of money. And hopefully we may be able to save on some of those costs and maybe backfill that riverboat fund by not having to put out so much with the American Rescue dollars. We can kind of backfill and cover our losses there. So it's been good information. Again, today is just one of many opportunities that we'll have to kind of kickstart this conversation on how we're going to move forward with the American Rescue Plan dollars and to see what our pandemic response is going to do. I will let everybody know that we're in the process of applying for a grant. I've been working with Assistant Administrator Erica Bryant, LSU Health Science Center, and Dr. Wilson and Miss Anita to do some more testing to make sure that we ramp up our testing and vaccination. It is a competitive grant, so it's not guaranteed, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to do that around health literacy in the minority community. So that's something that eventually this committee will have to have a discussion about, particularly as we go further down the line. But the team at LSU Health Science Center has agreed to write that grant for us, and they're going to work with the parish because only local governments can apply. And so the parish would be the recipient of it. And we're hopeful that things go well. We've got some of the best grant writers here at the medical school. So any other questions or comments from the committee or administration that we have not covered here?
No, sir. I think we covered it well.
Okay.
We just will be expanding on the list. Like I said, we didn't highlight the project specific, but we want to include that as well.
Gotcha. Well, Doc, y'all don't spend all the money now.
Yes, sir. No, we just don't want to, like you said earlier, give a penny back.
Oh, I agree. We don't want to give it back.
I think it could be put to good use in our community and be well served.
Absolutely. The goal was to stimulate the economy and to help people. And we know that Treasury is going to be coming out with some guidelines. And so we'll be watching those guidelines pretty closely. Again, all of those dollars have to be related to the pandemic. It has to be pandemic related or the effects of the pandemic. And so that's why I felt it was necessary for this committee to be a part of this conversation. And this is one of many. I know that there are other organizations out there that have the losses, as Commissioner Epperson pointed out, State Fair, CCAA. And so we'll be glad to just have these public hearings, if you will, on that so that we can start getting a sort of formulating our approach and plan forward. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I know folks are ready to go do their Easter deal.
Move to adjourn.
All right, it's been motion, second by the chair to adjourn. Everybody have a happy Easter. Thank you.